Hi, good evening, everyone. It's good to see you. Today, I am here to discuss the final part of the trilogy that I've been doing on fear. I've been looking at the element of fear for the past week and a half, and today I am doing the final part 3, where I will be speaking about the enemy within. This topic was suggested by my good friend Renee. And Renee, I hope you're there. Hope you're able to see it. If not, you can join us later. But she asked me to address the enemy with fear from the perspective of it being the enemy within, and how you can address this how you can overcome it to pursue your goals and your dreams. The first part 1, actually addressed the psychology of fear, looking at fear from a cognitive perspective. And last week, I spoke about fear of the unknown, as you construe it being a phobia, which, as we know, is an irrational fear. I dealt with that last time. Hello, Marlene. Hi, Tashani. Thanks for joining. So I looked at it from those two perspectives before, and today I am dealing with the final part, which is the enemy within. And I'm just going to wait for a few more minutes until a couple more persons join us. Hi, Cher, good to see you. And then I will get started. And guys, as I speak on this topic of fear from the perspective of fear being the enemy within, if you have any suggestions, any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. I will address them as I go along. And if I don't cover them in this session, then I will address them later. Hi, Miss Powell. It's good to see you. So I will get started in about 2 minutes. And as you know, I'm at work and that door squeaks a lot. Believe it or not, it's the quietest place I can find. So bear with me, guys, and thank you so much. So I will start in like 1 minute. Hi, Roger. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I'm going to get started, guys. So today, again, we are discussing the enemy within. And that enemy I am referring to is fear, F-E-A-R. So there is a quote that I found by an unknown or an anonymous person. They wrote it. And the quote says that inside the cave that you fear lies the treasure you seek. Inside the cave that you fear lies the treasure you seek. What I understand from that quote is that inside the particular thing that you want, that you desire, the particular thing that you fear, that's where the treasure lies. So in order for you to get to that treasure, you have to venture into that cave. You have to take an action step toward the goal that you seek. Now, as we know, that is easier said than done. Hi, Allison. Hi, Mr. Christie. Nice to see you. It is easier said than done. People will tell us every day, face your fears, push through your fears, and face your enemy and move on. But when it comes to actually doing it, that is something that we are not able to wrap our minds around. We get so caught up in the concept of fear that we allow it to cripple us, not realizing that on a daily basis, we're taking risks. We're addressing our fears on a daily basis. Hi, Crystal, nice to see you. We're addressing our fears on a daily basis without even noticing it. So first, I'm going to speak about motivation. What motivates you? We're all motivated by different things. A lot of us are motivated by means goals that we have, or we are motivated by a particular thing that we want to accomplish. We use that as our motivation. But there are other factors which motivate us, which are actually part and parcel of the functional prerequisites of everyday life. And we don't realize that those are actually fears. So I have a submission, and my submission is that most people are motivated by fear. I know that might come as a shock to some of you guys, and feel free to share the video so your friends can join us and share in the discussion if you have any ideas, suggestions, or comments. Hi, Diana, good to see you again. Feel free to leave them. Now, what I mean by saying that most people are motivated by fear is this. I believe that when you go above and beyond to ensure that you have food on your table, to ensure that you can feed your kids, to ensure that you have food to eat, I believe it is because of fear, the fear of being hungry. So you do whatever you must to acquire what you need, which is food. The only difference is that we do not see it in that context. We don't believe that we seek to get food because we're afraid of dying of hunger. But I believe that inherently we are motivated by the fear of being hungry, and that's why we work so hard to get food. So you see, guys, what I am essentially saying is that fear is something that is present, but it can actually help you. Hi, Levy. Hi, how are you? But you should not look at it as something that is going to cripple you, because we are motivated on a daily basis by our fears. It's just that we selectively pick things that we call fear, or we attribute fear to them, and then we allow those things to cripple us. But if we were able to conceptualize our daily activities, we would realize that we are indeed inherently capable of pushing through our fears, because every single day we are using fears to channel our actions. Another thing is that we are also motivated by fear of pain. Anything that you think is going to hurt you or is going to be painful, you will try to avert it or avoid it. That is also you being motivated by fear to take extra precaution. So that is actually you using fear to your advantage. You just don't conceptualize it in that context. So again, I'm going to reiterate that fear is something that can actually help you. Hi, Samantha. Thanks for checking in. And thanks, Crystal. Thanks for sharing. Fear is actually something that is helping you on a daily basis. You just don't realize that. We are also motivated by the fear of being alone, and that is actually one motivation that I would advise against, just because it can be very crippling. For example, you might at this time be in one of those relationships that is very, it is actually not a good relationship for you. It is actually very toxic, but you stay in it because you are afraid of being alone. And because of that, you allow that person who is probably abusing you, not paying attention to you, or who is just not the person who you thought you would end up with, because you now feel like you're settling. You're afraid of being alone, so you get with someone who is not good for you and someone who does not treat you well. That is one instant in which being motivated by fear is actually a negative thing, and it can cripple you. It can actually prevent you from progressing generally. So my question for you is this. That is so true, Crystal. I'm very afraid of being alone, always been. Yes, and that is something that is common to almost everybody. I think most people, even those who wind up being alone in the long run, are afraid of being alone. And that is why they attach themselves to other people. And in many instances, the people who you attach yourself to don't have your best interest at heart. So you find that they end up bringing you down. They end up making you worse off than if you didn't have their friendship or have that relationship. So you have to be able to assess yourself. If you're afraid of being alone, it is something that is normal, but that doesn't mean you should attach yourself to any random person who comes along, because not everybody means well for you. A lot of people are about self-preservation and self-aggrandizement. They are not thinking about your well-being. So if you're afraid of being alone, that fear might push you into the wrong relationship. And then, as Levi says here, I'm afraid of being around people, trust issues. That's another aspect as well. If you're afraid of being around people or getting close to people because you cannot trust them, what happens is that you find yourself receding, or you find yourself drawing into your shell, so to speak. And that is also very unhealthy for you. So what I would say to that, in terms of you being afraid of being around people, is that you will have to address the internal battle that's taking place. You will have to find a way to address the root of those fears. Why is it that you're afraid of being around people? Why is it that you do not trust people? It might have been something that happened to you when you were younger, or someone who you really trusted or who was very close to you hurt you, and because of that you are now afraid to trust other people and to get close to other people, because what your subconscious, the information that your subconscious has now, is that when you get close to people, they're going to hurt you. Except that that is not always true. So you have to now rewrite that story. And I actually, in my individual sessions, that is something that I do one-on-one when I speak with my clients, about rewriting that story so that you can feed new and correct information to your subconscious so it does not debilitate you. Crystal says, yep, had to reevaluate myself a while back. It had it be a very bad and self-harming thing. Yes, that is so true, Crystal. When you allow fear to get the better of you and to control your life, it actually causes you to become stagnant. Now you don't only have the issue of fear to deal with, but also the issue of stagnation, the issue of feeling as though you're not progressing. So what you find is that the fear is now compounded by a plethora of other issues. So that's why it is so important to find a way to deal with that particular issue of fear so that it does not cripple your progress. Right now with what's going on in Jamaica, for example, a lot of persons, especially females and children, are afraid of being killed. And that is something that there is no easy way to address it. I cannot sit here and tell you not to be afraid, because honestly, that is almost like beating a dead horse. It is impossible for you not to be afraid because of what's happening, because you do not know if the person who is going to hurt you is someone you know or someone close to you. You go out to take a taxi or public transport, you don't know if someone is going to ambush you. However, what I would say is that try to channel your fear into you working on yourself. If you feel like your circumstances are unsafe or the neighborhood in which you live is not safe, try to work on yourself now so that you can get out of those circumstances. That is what I would say if it is that you're afraid of being killed or being hurt. Because every single day, whatever we do is basically instructed or informed by our fears. Natalie says that's so true. It is everyday experiences that we are reacting to when we interpret it as being fearful. Hi, Deshay, nice to see you. The other issue that I want to speak about is doubt. The greatest inhibiting factor to one's success is doubt. You're doubtful because of what you think is correct, the correct way of doing something, or what you think is right based on societal standards. It makes you doubt yourself and your capabilities because there is someone who has told you that if it is not done this way, then it is not correct. What I would have to say to you about that is there is no one way to get to where you want to go. And I believe that when you set a goal, most times the story will bend. The story will bend in that you may have all the steps that you think are the requisite step to get what you need to be done in progress, but you'll find that when you start the journey, life throws you a series of curveballs and you end up taking a totally different route, but you still get to where you're going. That is why when you set goals, you should focus on setting ends goal and not means goals. What I mean by that is there are some goals that are ultimate goals. For example, if you want to acquire a 10,000 square feet home, that's an end goal. But how are you going to get there? You're not going to get up tomorrow and get to that goal. You know that you have to work on some of your strengths to make them better so that you can use those as a means by which to get to the end goal. So you acquiring enough money to buy that 10,000 square feet home is a means goal. So you want to do the things that are necessary to get you to that end. However, what you find is that on the road to getting toward the ultimate goal that you're working on, fear comes in and it starts to tell you, Shauna-Kaye, you cannot do that. It starts to introduce doubt inside of you. So now you feel as though you're incapable. One suggestion that I have as it relates to you feeling incapable or overwhelmed when you think about the big goal is to remember what we learned in primary school. No man is an island and no man stands alone. One of the main reasons why we become overwhelmed when we're working on a goal is that we think of doing it on our own. But where I am today, I am not able to sit here and speak to you guys about what I know if I didn't get help from others. The point I'm making is that you cannot do it by yourself. And most times you're going to become overwhelmed because you're thinking of doing it by yourself. Samantha says, very true, beginning to end. Yes, yes. So actually, you have to start with small steps. Sir Walter Scott says, you have to take the small steps. You have a big goal, but you're not going to get there just by dreaming of it. And if your aim is to cut corners, that is also the wrong attitude, because cutting corners is not going to give you the goal that you're seeking. You have to be prepared to go through the course of the journey. And on the way to your end goal, you are going to be faced with a multiplicity of fears. Levy says people in Jamaica don't help in most cases unless something is in it for them. Well, Levy, I have to agree with you on that, because most people think from a quid pro quo mindset, meaning what for what. If I do something for you, what's in it for me? But you know what? Thomas Hobbes, a great philosopher, he said that human beings are inherently evil. And one argument to extrapolate from that major argument of Hobbes is that people are all about self-aggrandizement. What can I get out of the situation? But guess what? That is not just them. I believe that that is a part of all of us. Most times when we look at situations to take advantage of those situations, we're looking at what we can get out of it. So rather than looking at it from a negative perspective, try to acquire a negotiating mindset. Try to meet them halfway. If you feel as though it's not going to be possible to acquire what you want unless you have something to give, then become creative. Tap into your inner creativity and see what you can do to meet the person halfway. What can you do to give the person incentive to want to help you if you have accepted that that's the only way? I would say, rather than looking at it as a negative thing, tap into your skill set, which I know you have, and see how you can meet that person halfway. Negotiate with the person. You may never know. You might be able to come to an amicable solution, and in the end, it's a win-win situation. You see, one of the problems is that as human beings, and I'm digressing because I need to address the points as you guys raise them. As human beings, we tend to operate from a place of scarcity. We believe that resources are scarce, and if we share, there's not going to be enough for us. But you see, that's wrong. I believe that there is enough for everyone. We all have different skills and different talents, and we all have different purposes to serve. So what you have to do is to realize that if you're always thinking about getting and not giving, you're not going to acquire your goal. You have to be balanced. It's about giving and receiving. Some people say that it's better to give than to receive. I'm not sure I subscribe to that school of thought. I think it is just as important to give as it is to receive. But when you're giving, don't think about you getting something back from that person in return. Don't think about what you're getting. Give because it is in your heart to help, to add to someone else's life, to impact somebody. When I give, when I help someone, I'm not thinking about what I can get out of it. But I used to have that mindset. But it's not a gratifying feeling, especially when you're given the person doesn't say thank you or the person doesn't show gratitude. You start getting bitter and you start thinking the person is ungrateful. But you know what? You cannot change other people, but you can change yourself. You can ascribe to the position that you want to get to. You can be the person who you want to be. Control yourself and give from a place of just wanting to give rather than with the notion that you're going to receive. Now, the other point that I want to make is that a lot of people are afraid to take a leap of faith or to take risks, and that's why they stay in toxic and harmful situations. For example, many of you right now might be in a job that you hate. You might be at this place, you're working there maybe for a number of years, or you might be new there, but you hate the job. And because of fear, you decide to stay in the position nonetheless. You know within you that you're unfulfilled, that you can do more, that there is more to you, but you're afraid to take a leap of faith and try to do something else because you feel as though you're going to fail. The way I describe fear is that it is a projection of what you imagine to be real. You project your imagination on the outcome or the possible outcome, and because of what your imagination tells you is going to obtain, you abstain from doing something that could potentially be beneficial to you. You allow the fear to get the better of you. For example, some of us work with big organizations that offer voluntary separation programs. And I'm going to get to that point just now, but let me see what this person... Yes, Samantha says undervalued self. Thank you for that point, Samantha. Yes, that is so true. And I was actually getting to it. I'm going to speak about that right now. Sometimes we undervalue ourselves. We doubt ourselves and we don't think we're good enough. And when you operate from a place of not being good enough, you will not be able to maximize your potential, because each time an opportunity comes up that you know in the back of your mind is meant for you and you know that you would excel at that particular thing, you refrain from taking a leap because you don't believe that you are capable. Now you see, that's where you're wrong, because if you don't take a chance, you will not know whether or not you could have succeeded. Now back to the point I was making about the voluntary separation programs. Many of my viewers right now, you guys are very young, and you're in a place where you're working, maybe in the corporate world, and your company has come to you in the past and they told you that they are going to offer you a voluntary separation. They have a voluntary separation program coming up and that you might be eligible. Now, what happens when they have voluntary separation, some people call it VSP for short, is that they basically ask you to cut ties with the company and they give you a lump sum payment. Sometimes the lump sum is a tidy sum of money, and you might have a dream to start a business, and because of your fear, you decide, you know what, I would like to take that money, but what if I don't get another job? But guess what? You're very young. The chances of you getting another job are very, very high. Plus, you'll be leaving with a huge amount of money that you can potentially put into your business that you want to start. You might have a dream of becoming an entrepreneur, and that money would really go a long way. It would prevent you from having to take a loan. But because of your fear of failure, you do not take a leap of faith to take that money. Now, if you're taking that money, let's say worst case scenario, you took it and you went to start the business and things didn't work out and you failed. So what? Failure is inevitable. The worst thing that could happen to you is that you have to find another job. I told you before, I have been fired from a job. I've only been fired once in my life. It was from a job where I was working as a server, and I was let go. I thought it was the end of the world. Silly me. Today I can sit here and I can say, thank God that they fired me from that job. Because sometimes we need a significant life experience for us to be agitated into changing our ways, for us to actually be jolted into actions. Sometimes when you have something significant like that happening, you're catapulted into a situation now where you have to make decisions. Because guess what? One of the quickest ways to get back on your feet is to miss a car payment. And you can't afford for that to happen. So when they tell you that you're not able to come back to that job, you have to go out there, become creative, tap into your inner potential and find something to do. And guess what? Most people make it work. Samantha says, buy out in her corporate company. Exactly. It's buyout. That's exactly what they're doing. They're buying you out. But guess what? Don't look at it as a negative thing. Use that to your advantage, because when they give you that lump sum, instead of taking it and running to go shopping and buying material things that are only going to last a short time, you put that money aside until you're able to come up with something concrete that can potentially improve you. So what you're going to do is that you're going to invest in personal development. You're going to invest in yourself. Or like I said, if you had that idea to start a business, it is now probably the right time for you to take that money and start your business. So what I would say to you is that the next time your company offers a voluntary separation program, think about taking it. You know why? At the end of the day, most of these companies, they employ people at will, meaning that the relationship between you and the company can end at any time. Or it's a contractual relationship, which means that when the contract period ends, they can let you go. No, their hands are not tied. And at that time, when they let you go, they might let you go with 2 weeks severance pay. And then you're going to say, I should have taken that money. At that time, it's going to be too late. So if your gut tells you to take the money and take a leap of faith. There are no guarantees in life. So your plans may not work out, but guess what? Something else will. And the more you overcome your fear is the more your courage will build. And the more courage you have is the less fearful you will be. The other point I wanted to make is about us remaining in toxic relationships because we're afraid. We're afraid of venturing out on our own. Last week, I spoke about the fear of the unknown. So you stay in a toxic relationship, allowing yourself to be dragged because you're afraid of being alone. You don't believe that you're capable of standing on your own. You're afraid that the money or the contribution that the person was making, when they leave, you won't be able to afford it on your own. But that's not true. You will find that what if the person decides that I'm going to leave you? It's not always up to you. The other person might decide that, you know what? I have outgrown this relationship. I'm done. I'm going to leave. What do you do at that time? You have to figure it out then. So why wait on someone else to determine the course of your life? That is not a smart idea. So if you have a feeling that you need to make a change in your life, don't spend too much time thinking, because thinking does not allow you, it doesn't propel you forward. What you need is action. So you have to take that first step. The other point that I want to deal with is acknowledging that you have courage. I believe that courage is innate. Courage is something that you're born with. You just do not know when you're that young. But as you grow older, you realize, because your courage allows you to stand up in a meeting at work and to do that presentation despite your knees buckling. You still do it because you know that it is required, because your boss told you that you have to present. You're in college or you're at school and you have to go in front of the class to make a presentation. Guess what? Despite your fears, you do it because it's a part of your grades. It is going to contribute to your grades and you cannot afford to get that 0, so you do it. There are many things that we do on a daily basis despite our fears. And yet, when it comes to addressing our specific dreams, we allow ourselves to delay, to procrastinate on the premise that we are afraid. Not realizing that every single day when we get up, we take action despite our fears. The final thing that I want to speak about is fear can actually act as a weapon. There's a great African proverb which says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. Fear, if you allow it to affect you in a negative way, it can actually work as a weapon against you. Even when you know that you're capable of getting something done, you will not do it because you're afraid of what the outcome will be. But I have said it through all 3 presentations that nothing is guaranteed. Even if you're 100% confident, you could still fail. Because nothing in life is guaranteed. But each time you fail, it is a learning experience. Selena McCoy, you need to take yeah, I'm sure she is, Sammy. She always, reach out to me. I'm sure she's taking notes. But what I'm saying is that do not allow the fact that you're afraid to prevent you from taking action, because you're going to become even more depressed when you look around you and you see other people, sometimes with even less resources than you have, taking that step and moving on with their lives. And you say to yourself, I can do that. Or that could have been me. So what? You can speak to these people. You know what amazes me? Many people sit down and say that, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do to pursue my dream. The funny thing about that is, I believe we feel that way because we are often trying to reinvent the wheel. But you know what they say, if it's not broken, why fix it? Why are you trying to reinvent the wheel when there are so many people out there doing the thing that you want to do? When you could reach out to some of those persons, you could consult some of those persons. I know people who they're very good with braiding hair. They want to become hairstylists. But they say, I don't know where to start, or I haven't been to a school. I don't have the money to go to school. But those same people went to school with others who are now hairstylists, and they can actually walk to them. They know where to find them. Make a proposal. Find one of those persons and let them know, hey, we went to school together. We've been good friends. Is it possible that I can come and learn to style hair from you? What's the worst case scenario? They may say no. So what? Sometimes you have to hear 10 no's before you hear a yes. But are you going to allow that to inhibit you because someone told you no? You cannot do that. So what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of times our inability or procrastination or decision not to do something to uplift ourselves is based on what's going on inside of us. It's based on us being afraid of taking a leap of faith because we think we might fail. But I've said it before and I will keep saying it. Failure is something that's going to happen whether or not you do anything. However, if you don't do anything, you have no chance. If you get up every day and you pray and you said, God, please let me win the lottery. Now, I don't know if God helps people to win the lottery, but you pray every day and say, God, please let me win the lottery. And you're praying and you do believe that you could win the lottery. But then when the draw comes out and someone else wins, you go and you say, God, how come I didn't win the lottery? God says to you, Shauna-Kaye, you couldn't have won. You didn't buy a ticket. You're there every day. You're wishing, you're praying, you're hoping for something to happen, but you're not taking any actions. It is almost a guarantee that you will fail. But if you take action, there is at least a 50-50 chance that you might succeed. And even if you don't, you build character, you build courage as you face your fears and realize that things are not as hard or as bad as you initially perceived. So guys, if there is anything else on the topic of fear that you would like me to address, I'd be more than happy to do so. You can leave a comment now or later for those who weren't able to join us. You can join later and I will get to those topics. This is a final series in the discussion on the element of fear. And if there's anything else that you'd like to hear, then feel free to reach out. Of course, my website, the link is there, ShaunaKayeLBrown.com. On YouTube, I'm Shauna-Kaye Brown. On Twitter, I am SKB_Brown. And on Instagram, I am SKB Renaissance Woman. Check out any of my platform. Every single day I share insights. These are just things I have implemented in my own life. These are things that have been working for me. And I am sharing generously because I believe that we all have the ability to do well. We all have the ability to achieve greatness despite our circumstances. You are not what you do. You are not your circumstances. And circumstances can change. Change is inevitable. And if you don't like the situation you're in, change it. But you have to be serious. Whenever someone comes to me and they need my help, I always tell them, if you don't believe that it is possible for your situation to improve, I cannot help you. You see, you have to address that inner voice, that inner doubt that tells you that you cannot do it. Because if you don't do that, I can't help you. You have to come to me believing that it is possible, even though you don't know how. Many times, we are caught up with the how of things. We are caught up with the fact that we don't know how to get it done. And because of that, we are inhibited. But the truth about it is that most times you don't know how. You're not going to know how at the beginning. But as Les Brown says, how is none of your business. Because if you get caught up with the how of it, you will not do anything. Don't count yourselves out prematurely. You have to know why it is that you want to do what you do. And your why will be your motivation. Once you know why, then you can begin to devise a mechanism to get there. You can at least know what's going to be the first step. If you don't get started, you can never get finished. If you have to walk somewhere and you don't take that first step, you will never get there. You can sit down and wish all you want, but wishing yourself there is not going to happen. This is not a cartoon. This is real life. And wishes and dreams alone do not accomplish goals. So you have to find a way to work through your fears. Find the things that help you to address your fears. If it is motivation, then I have offered you a myriad of options that you can use to get to the motivation that I offer. I'm only giving you an opinion. I'm only giving you my perspective. There is a plethora of information out there that you can take advantage of. So I am saying to you, find the thing that works for you and allow that to help you to address your fears. And like I said last week, fear in and of itself is not 100% bad. You can actually use fear to your advantage, but you have to understand it within that context. Sometimes having a little bit of fear gives you that extra adrenaline that pushes you in the right direction. Like I said at the beginning, your fear of being hungry or your fear of dying of hunger will propel you to get something done, to work, to make some money so you can buy the food that you need. That is good fear. That is healthy fear. And then you have the other kind of fear, which is irrational fear. It's like a phobia. You're afraid of large dogs. So if you see a large dog, you run in the opposite direction. Then tomorrow you go to the zoo and you see someone dressed in a dog costume and you might still run. Of course, a person dressed in a dog costume is not going to hurt you the way in which a dog would hurt you. But because of your irrational fear, you run in the opposite direction. That's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. The kind of fear I am addressing is the one that comes from inside you. The one that says to you, Shauna-Kaye, you are dreaming too big. You cannot do that. No dream is too big. And like I posted today in my quote, it is about being uncomfortable. If your dream doesn't make you uncomfortable, it's not big enough. If your dream does not let other people see you as being outrageous, it's not good enough. It's not big enough, and it's not going to push you. If your dream is not unorthodox and make you or other people feel uncomfortable, it's not big enough. What I'm saying is that it is okay to have a dream that others perceive as being too big or too outrageous. It's okay. When I decided to go to college, the high school I went to, it was almost unheard of that anyone from that school at that time would have ended up at the university that I went to. But I knew I wanted to go there. And in that same year, might I add, a lot of my friends ended up there. If we had allowed the other people, negative voices to say, why are you thinking so big? people from that school don't go to that university, I would have just settled for something less. But my dream was big. My dream was outrageous. To some, my dream was ridiculous. I told you about the lawyer who laughed at me and told me to try to go to Hart. But I didn't let him stop me because I believe in possibility. I believe that with God, all things are possible. Sammy says, say that again, so inspiring. And Sammy, you and I went to the same high school, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. We went to a school at the time that was considered to be, in Jamaican talk, Techman College. People were fighting every day. Teachers called us the most disruptive. Every single year in high school, I was told that my class is the most disruptive class. That's how bad it was. So dreaming of going to a top university to study law or anything at all for that matter was ludicrous to some people. And at that time, I could have said, you know what, Shauna-Kaye, just relax yourself and go and try to get a job in a call center or something. But I wasn't about to settle for that. I was not about to settle for that when I knew my potential. I knew what I was capable of. And all I needed were the resources to get there. I knew what I needed to do. So I studied hard and I did my subjects, which is what we needed at the time to go to college. And as you know, I ended up there. I did a lot of studying at that very university. And like I said, people thought it was ridiculous that I would have thought it was possible to get there, and yet I did. I'm not the only one. Many of my friends went there and went to our neighbor across the street, which is an equally good university as well. And the point I'm making is that if it makes you feel comfortable, if it makes you feel sorry about the door, guys. If the dream that you have is something that makes you feel normal or realistic according to societal standards, then that's not enough. Because what is realistic? Who determines what is normal, or who determines what is realistic as opposed to what is fanciful? Society on any given day may change their mind, and then that leaves you confused. You have to decide for you what is your normal. We all have different normals. I grew up in what one could easily call abject poverty. Walking with a bucket of water on your head for 2 miles only to fall down just as you're about to put it in the barrel. And then you have to turn around and go again. Not having electricity throughout all of high school. That's abject poverty. I could have just allowed myself not to see beyond my circumstances at the time. But what I'm saying, guys, even though you're going through a storm right now is not all you have. Right now is not all you have. You need to focus on what you need to do to get out of the situation that you're in. Because I am telling you today, as I sit here, that your dream is possible. That the journey is going to be difficult, but you may as well take it. Because not doing anything is an even more difficult journey. That is like being in a perpetual state of stagnation. It's like walking in one position. It's easy to do nothing, but you will not get any results if you do nothing. Levy says, someone close keeps telling me that I need to settle and do the low-income jobs. Well, you know what to do, Levy. You and I have spoken about this, and I mean, I know you personally and know that you're one of the smartest young ladies I know. So you know what to do. If someone keeps telling you that you need to settle for the low-income jobs, then you know what you need to do about that person, close or not. Because in life, I believe that if toxic relationships are preventing you from moving on, then you need to leave those relationships. I remember growing up in high school, my mom, her job was to sew. My mom is a seamstress. That's something she's good at. But right now she has a professional job. Before that, she used to sew things and go on the street and sell them. And that's what she used to do to feed us children, to do everything for us. That was her means of income. And I remember when my mom went back to college, my mother and I went to college and graduated from college together. And there was a lady in our community who was my mom's friend. And when my older sister told her that my mom was going back to college, she was like, really? So why she don't just do the little selling that she's been doing in Jamaican talk? Why she don't just continue with the selling? Now you know that that's not a friend that you want to keep. That is the epitome of toxicity. I mean, come on. You are going out there every day being uncertain because you can have an intention to sell, but that's one thing. Maybe no one wants to buy on that day, so you have to stay hungry. And she thought that it was okay for my mom, her friend, to continue to sell her little things, as opposed to going to college, getting an education and getting a job that she can at least be sure of an income. So what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, even though the person might be close to you and even though you might love the person, if they're telling you to settle, it might be time for you to move away from that person. Sometimes it's not that easy because a person might be your child or your spouse or your parents, but you have to try to let them see it in your way. And if they don't see it your way, don't discuss your dreams with them. Don't discuss your dreams with people who are going to be negative about your dreams. Find people who will listen to your crazy ideas. Because if they're not crazy, they're not good enough. Find people who will listen to the things that you want to do, because you will gain strength from those people. Ladies, the girlfriends that you have who are ready and who are always ready to hear you speak about the negative things and all the lemons that life has been serving upon you, the ones who are ready to listen to that and to perpetuate the negativity, you need to get rid of those friends. You need to ask yourselves, how is this relationship benefiting me? How is this relationship making my situation better? And if the answer to that is they are not helping you to accomplish your dreams, or they're not helping you to become a better person, it's time to move on. Sammy says, let go of the relationship or limit the information given to them. Exactly. Some people say don't share your dreams because someone else will steal it. To an extent, that is true. It just depends on who, though. Because if you share your dreams with the right persons, they may also be able to help you. And that's why sometimes you have to embrace the silence so that you can become attuned to your intuition. So that you will know when someone is the right person with whom you should share your dreams. But if you're sharing your dream with someone who is always beating up on you and someone who is always telling you that the dream is too big or that you should settle for less, that's not the person you want to tell your dream to. Because each time you share your dream with them, their response is going to make you feel incapable and inadequate. If that's what you want to feel, then you can continue sharing your dreams with those persons. Those persons will make you feel even more fearful, because there is strength in numbers. And the more people around you who are saying, Shauna-Kaye, you can't do that. Shauna-Kaye, you need to settle for this. The more people who are telling you that you cannot do the thing are the people who, they make you feel more convinced that what you believe about yourself is true. Miss Powell says, get associated with more positive, influential persons. Exactly. Exactly. You have to know the relationships you want to hold on to. Find people who are positive. A lot of times people try to align themselves with the moneyed people in society. They try to align themselves with the people who they think are rich. But rich people oftentimes have to toil really hard to get to where they are. So they're not going to let go of their money that easily. And even if they try to engage you, it is at a cost. Most times it's not worth it. So it's not about aligning yourself with people who already have it made, but aligning yourself with positive people. Aligning yourself with people who are successful and who are willing to share the how with you. Because success leaves clues. Jack Canfield in his Success Principles book, he says success leaves clues. You don't have to try to reinvent the wheel. But what you have to do is to align yourself with people who have already done what you want to do, or who are doing the things you want to do, or just generally positive people. Do not keep sharing your dreams and your goals with people who do not want to see you succeed, or people who cannot understand the dream for themselves. They will not be able to see it for you. If people who cannot see themselves being successful, how will they be able to see it for you? And in the same breath, if you cannot see yourself as being successful, you will not be able to see it for someone else. So you have to start with you. And one of the main ways to overcome your fears is to remove the negativity and the toxicity out of your life. That's one of the first steps. Hi, Letty. Hi, Julia. Thanks for joining. That's one of the first ways to address your fears. One other point I want to leave with you is feel the fear. Some people feel better going through life playing it safe. But I despise that statement, because when you play it safe, there is no way you can find out what you're truly capable of. And if your dream is to become successful, or to attract success rather, you cannot do that by playing it safe. Nobody who is successful now got to where they are because they played it safe. Actually, it's quite the contrary. All the persons who I know of, or who I know personally who are successful, they took risks. If you are not able to take risks, you cannot be successful. And that is what fear does to you. Fear prevents you from taking risks. Fear causes you to be cautious. And because of that, you avoid taking risks, you avoid pushing yourself, and you avoid accomplishing the things that you are capable of, because that inner voice keeps telling you that you are inadequate, that the dream is too big, that you're incapable, that success is reserved for a select few people who have more resources or they have more time. Let me tell you something. No one has more time. All our days are made up of 24 hours. And if you feel as though one of your weaknesses is time management, then you need to address that. Sometimes in order to accomplish the things that you want, you have to address the problems that you have now. And sometimes the problems are smaller than you know or than you think. So if your problem is managing your time, address that. Because if your wish is to have my time or more time, you can forget your dream, because you cannot have someone else's time and you cannot have more time. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. Okay, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. If you have any suggestions on the topic of fear or any other topic for that matter, feel free to share it. I promise I will get to it. I address all the topics that have been suggested to me. I am here to serve you guys. That's my purpose. So if there's something else that you would want us to discuss, to have a dialogue about, feel free to share in the comment section below and I will get to it. Again, my website is also attached in this link. It's www.shauna-kaye.brown.com. And feel free to reach out to me. You can leave a comment on the website. I have blog articles that I speak about different things that might be of help to all of us. Until next time, have a great day and I'll see you soon. Thank you for hanging out, guys.